All right, guys, this is going to be a quick episode this week, number 102. We're going to go over some lessons learned from Unbound Gravel and our training leading up to it. And Danny's going to be out of town, so we're going to keep it short and sweet.
Short and sweet. I mean, one of the things, let's start with the quick lessons learned. One of the things I've learned after doing now 4 completions of Unbound.
Yeah,
and hey, look, I know
one more.
I know, right? One more I get to drink from the crystal.
Yeah.
But I know there's people out there that finished 8. There's people that finished 10. There's people I don't know. I don't know who holds the record, but I think once you've done this a few times, you learn a lot of things. And I think this year
you're always learning.
You're always learning. You'll never know it all. And I think there's one thing I've learned from this event for sure is taking some well-deserved time off afterwards. And that's exactly what I'm doing when this episode comes out. I am going to be enjoying a nice little vacation and some time away from the bike. I wish I could take the bike, but this is going to be a pure driving vacation and hiking vacation. So looking forward to it. And let's get into some lessons learned and talk about some of the things that we've learned about our training from specifically for Unbound, maybe a couple of things about the event itself.
Okay. Let's go with you, Danny. You went with a kind of wild card training scheme.
Well, I wouldn't talk about wild card. You make it sound like I pulled names out of a hat and like, what am I going to do today? Oh, look, anaerobic workout. Sweet.
No.
Hope you ate.
So he went with the AI coach, Coach Cat.
I went with Fast Cat coaching.
Fast Cat
coaching. Just the AI. They did a nice little sale, and I bought into it. I've been wanting to try it for a while. I tried the 30 days. Quite honestly, I don't think their 30-day trial is really enough. You don't get really enough flavor for it. And don't get me wrong. I mean, not many platforms even offer a trial. So, I mean, I'm not complaining about that. It's just I used it once for 30 days, and I wasn't really that impressed. But they had a good deal when I went ahead and bought the lifetime of it. Which is you're probably like, oh my gosh, you bought the lifetime. You didn't. I bought it because at the end of the day, when you break down the cost, if you're going to use it, it really wasn't that much per day. And I figured, okay, I'll use it anyway. So I went with the Fast Cat, and the reason I did that was it advertises all the AI stuff, which is less appealing to me, quite honestly. I think the format of the training plan for Unbound looked pretty good. It looked pretty solid. I was pretty optimistic about the plan itself going into it. But yeah, I will tell you, and when did I switch? I switched to that. I want to say it was in February, or no, December. It was December.
It was December. Yep.
Because that's when I went into my strength block.
Yeah, they had the Black Friday sale.
That's the Black Friday thing. And I went in, so starting in December, I was using it, and I had implemented a strength block, which, was kind of one of the things that I was like, oh, that's a good idea. So I'll just cut to it. I think the training plan itself was fine. I think it just kind of cookie cutter Unbound training plan. We've had a few over the years that we've looked at, and we've used Trainer Road. We've purchased some from some different groups. We've used some homegrown ones, and you're going to talk a little bit about some of that.
Yep.
I will say the training plan itself in its core looks great. It's a good training plan. What I will say though is that I think the AI capabilities have a lot to be desired. I'm really not impressed with the AI.
So you're saying my job is still secure as a coach? Good.
Still secure. I just don't think the AI prompts the way it's trained. And this isn't Fast Cat. I think this is across any of the AI models that are currently available for training. I just don't think it's quite there yet. I think it's a little too generic still. It doesn't quite understand how to personalize for your situation. And one of the biggest gaps right now, I think that Fast Cat, the Coach Cat app has, is it cannot evaluate interval data.
Yeah.
So it can evaluate your workout as a whole, but it cannot evaluate at an interval level. So when it tells you to do 4x4 VO2 maxes, it has no idea if you completed it,
or you just
it knows based on the workout summary that you must have completed some percentage of it, but it doesn't know that you really struggled on that third one and you didn't get a good quality interval there, and now we got to figure out what do we need to do to adjust. It doesn't look at that kind of stuff. It has no way to do that. It doesn't have that capability. And then also I think the other big thing, big gap, and I don't want to do a full review of it here, so we can do that on another episode. But the other major problem I found with this was it is way too forgiving when it's super flexible because I only have an hour today instead of 90 minutes. adjust my workout. It does that. It's great. That's awesome. But it's also way too forgiving and way too quick with the trigger when it thinks you're in a red status and it puts you into recovery. Like it's like, oh no, dial everything back. Like you might not have slept as well as you should have last night. So instead of doing that VO2 max workout today, you should just dial it down and do nothing, like active recovery or some zone 2.
Yeah.
And it just takes it off the counter. It doesn't like move it to another day. It just takes it away. And it's like, so I feel like I probably lost, and look, I have used my better judgment. I probably could have. But I think it was way too flexible and way too quick to pull the trigger on erring on the side of recovery instead of letting you, let me go attempt the workout. And if I fail, then maybe bank that information and use it next time to make a better decision. Instead, it's just like this. It didn't feel like AI. It felt more like an algorithm just processing of a formula, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So I just don't think it's there. I would love the opportunity to talk to those guys and figure out, like, get more inside information. Like, what are they really doing? Because I'm sure they got a lot of smart people that are smarter than I am and know a lot more than I do, but it just doesn't feel like it's been shaped through a user's perspective and somebody who's more experienced. It feels like it's made for mass people who are like, oh, I just need a plan and I need the flexibility and I want to be able to ask it a question from time to time.
Yeah.
So, anyway. Yeah. So I was not super thrilled with it. If you look at we said on the last episode, I've been building in a lot of excuses along the way, but seriously, if you look at my last 8 weeks of training, for different reasons, I've had a very poor training block. Some of that is driven by my schedule and things that I've had going on. And some of that is driven by the way Coach Cat revised workouts. And so my training over the last 8 weeks during the build was not great.
Yeah.
I feel like I was not very prepared for the race itself. I wasn't prepared for the event. And I think the results show that. I'm not upset. It's what it is. But I can tell you I will not be doing barring any major changes in the application and the approach, I will not be using solely Coach Cat for Unbound prep next year. I'll be using it as a component, but it will not be the sole preparation.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
So
that's
how about you?
That's a big lesson. Yeah. Well, I went with, we had a lot of success with one of the coaching plans we bought.
Last year? Or 2 years ago? It was last year.
Yeah, I think it was last year.
Yeah.
I forget the name of the guys, but I can look it up. So basically, I used that as kind of a small template, and then I knew some of the hours that I wanted to hit, and then I knew that it was, kind of working through that plan last year, what it was lacking for me, and so I added some more of the higher end work a little bit further back, not just 4 weeks leading into sharpening and all that stuff. So I thought I executed the plan very well. I felt really prepared going into it. Everything was feeling really, really good. I wasn't having any, like, if you look at my results at any of the gravel cup races, there weren't any better than they were last year, but I was going faster.
The times were faster.
I was moving faster. It's also a credit to the competition that all the competition's getting better too. So I went in basically just, I felt like the plan was really good. The one thing that I didn't execute very well, and I think this ended up hurting me, was I was not able to execute the back-to-back rides on the weekend like I needed to. And I think that's where everything kind of fell apart in the back half of that 200
Was that in the
race.
template or was that in your adjustments?
That was in my adjustments. So like the back-to-back rides, they in the template or in their thing, they would do like, a 3-hour ride and then a 4-hour ride.
Yeah,
like
a 3-hour
was the biggest one.
Like a 3-hour tempo ride or some tempo mixed in, and then the second day was more like a progressive endurance kind of workout. Yeah.
So I kept the progressive endurance part on the second day, but I just extended that longer. So, I going with, basically my longest workouts during the week were maybe 2 hours to 90 minutes on average. And then the weekends were like 6 hour rides, which I would use either races or I'd go out and do the rides. But then the next day was supposed to be like another 3-4 hour ride of progressive endurance, which really, like, if you do progressive endurance correctly, that can have a huge benefit to your durability, to your, that's some huge gains can be made there. It just sucks really bad. And I just didn't commit hard enough to it. I did a few of them, but I didn't do all of them. And I didn't do the longest ones where I think that the biggest gains would have been made. And so that's where I think that last part of the race, and it could have just been like I was overheated or I had too much salt on board or something like that. I was dealing with stomach issues. Maybe the stomach shut down, and that was the reason that I was just not performing at the back half of the race. But I felt like as the days went on after the race, my legs were sore than they usually are after a race. And I was like, I didn't do enough like fatigued training. So now I think we have some common things here, because I think I know I kind of came out of the gate with the whole Fast Cat thing. It was probably pretty hard on it there, but I do want to talk about some of the good things that came with it. And I think it's parallel to some of the things you're talking about, which is durability. So I know that's been the big word in biking for a couple of years now, especially on the gravel side. Or durability. It's like the big buzzword, but I think there really is something to be said for having a training plan that does focus on durability. And I will give the Coach Cat app some credit there with the strength training that it had me work through. Much like you, I saw early in the season, my durability was much, much better thanks to some of the strength training and the structure of some of those workouts, where those 4 and 5 hour race events, like I felt strong deep into those events where I had not the years before. And much like what you're talking about, where it's like when you get into a 200-mile race or some of these really long events, you get to a point where it's like, if you haven't experienced that in your training, you have a hard time attributing what's causing it now when I never experienced it before. And so now I don't know how to diagnose it, and I don't know how to fix it on the fly. And I think that's part of why I like stacking back-to-back days and things like Coach Cat, where it airs real quickly on the side of recovery. Like, don't get me wrong, you have to have recovery to consolidate the fitness gains. But you have to
also hit the system hard enough
to know what that
feels like. Exactly. And to know, like, I've hit it hard. Now my stomach is kind of at a threshold where it's like, maybe I'm not absorbing the nutrition, or maybe my eating and drinking hasn't been as consistent as I thought it was. Like, having that real honest assessment after a workout allows you to be able to try different things the next time, and you get some of those scenarios played out before you get to an actual race event. And we never got to that point this year. I think when we did Ironman training, I think we got to some of that with some of our Ironman training back in 23. But for these training blocks,
like every weekend, it was basically a simulated, pretty much iron. Like it was.
You got a hard run and then a hard bike the next day, or a long run and a long bike the next day.
And so it was like you were super fatigued going into that bike. And you're like, if my stomach doesn't work, it's gonna be tough. It's gonna be very hard. But we were able to figure out a lot of things during that.
I do think that. So I think the durability side, but I think if we're looking at like, okay, what are we going to do next year? Those back-to-back days, but also even on one of those days to go long enough to where you can start to feel that, like, I don't know, something's not quite definitely not as fresh as I once was. And that's hard. Like, it's hard to find the time to commit to that. And that's where I think we said right after the race, we were talking about that. And I was like, one thing I really thought about was the Coach Cat app did not have me do many super long rides. I guess 6 hours is kind of where it capped out. And I get it. Like, okay, well, 6 hours. I mean, what do you want? You're going to try to beat 13 hours. Why would you ride more than 6 hours to get that, get that, not only the adaptation, but to get to that point where I'm like, how is my body going to respond when I get to hour 7, hour 8? Because guess what? That's where the failure started to happen this year. I said in the last week's episode, 120 to 130 is about where my body started to feel it. We did open range, and it's 126 miles, but we also got it done in like 7.5 hours, I want to say, 7.5 to 8 hours-ish. and the conditions of that day and that particular race, like it's a big difference when you're like, I'm near the finish line with 7 hours to go. You kind of look past some of the problems and the challenges.
Yep.
But when you're at the halfway point or just past halfway and you realize you still have 70 miles to go,
Yeah.
It's a big difference. And you can't, adrenaline won't get you through some of those things.
Yeah.
So I do think that we're going to have to figure out how to get some. I think next year's training is going to be really interesting because I think we're both going to be looking to figure out how do we stack up more fatigue on the weekends, but also like how do we get our bodies, and maybe it's a hard tempo for 3 hours, 4 hours of like tempo sweet spot type work followed by a block of endurance where you're just like, okay, now that you've absorbed that, now how do you get through the rest of it?
Yeah.
So anyway.
Yeah. The other thing, I think me and you both did strength, and I'm going to be carrying that forward because that helps so much.
Everybody says it, and just have to do it to believe it.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt.
Yeah. If you're not doing strength, then you're leaving a lot on the table.
I'll say one gap that I've figured out that I know for a fact has hurt me is core strength, dedicated core strength, not just squats and leg strength, dedicated core strength. Because I don't know about you, but after Unbound, I noticed my triceps were really sore, and it wasn't from the jolting on the bike like you would get from a typical rough course. It was from not using the core and propping myself on the bike.
Yeah.
Bad form.
Holding yourself up.
Yeah, bad form. So you got to fix that. Now, shorter distance, I don't have any problem with that. But when you get to deep into a 200-mile race, like I found my core was not as engaged as it should have been. And you know, it's funny as I go and looked at some of my pictures from the event, and you can tell the difference in my posture on the bike.
Yeah.
That my core is not engaged like it was in the first pictures. You know how you can tell? I was skinnier in the first picture, and I was fatter in the second.
He saw the cameraman. That's what it was. Yep. Suck it in. All right.
You know where the gym's at?
Yeah. Show me where the weight room is.
You know where the weight room is.
Gotta get some lifts in. Yeah, no, strength I think is huge. Yeah, and then other than that, like, you know, as far as like bike stuff goes, I mean, me and you both ran the 50s on that ride and had no issues.
I'm going to tell you, I had a talk with Courtney on the course while we were riding about this, and she was always a Pathfinder fan, and I think she switched to the Tracers. Some friends of hers had switched to Tracers, and then she heard our episode and I think sealed the deal, or maybe she had already bought them, but she was like, I'm doing the Tracers. I think that Specialized Tracers, the TLR ones, are fantastic tires in the 50. And that's what you ran, right? And you ran for second Unbound.
Two Unbounds
on that tire.
And then plus
same
tires.
Not same brand, same tires.
Same tires.
Yes.
That made it
through 400 miles of Flint Hills gravel.
Most of the North Course.
Right. And so I ran the Schwabel, the RX ones, which was kind of nervous about, to be honest. I will tell you, dollar for dollar, I think the Specialized Tracer is the better buy.
Yeah.
But there's no doubt that Schwabel feels very good. And if money's not an option and you're just like, hey, I just want to run a good tire that feels like it has a nice fast feel to it, they feel faster than the Tracers.
Yeah, they do. My Schwabels feel so much faster.
They feel faster. But I'm going to tell you,
I couldn't bring myself to trust them.
When I'm buying, no, I agree. When I'm buying the next set of tires, I'm probably going to buy the Tracers unless something else comes out, which I know Specialized is going to release another tire, I'm sure. But I will buy whatever tire is like the Tracer, unless I think what they did this year or last year, the Pathfinder was always the tried and true Unbound. It was the winner tire, like it was it. So it's got the recognition. It's a great tire. And I think the Tracer was always kind of an underwing tire. And I think they put the technology and the evolution into the Tracer and just kind of marginally improved the Pathfinder, let it live off of its name. The Tracer is now, I think, the premier tire from Specialized. And maybe the Terra if you need that chunkier stuff. But the Tracer is the premier tire. I would go right back to the well on the Terra unless they have a new innovation in the Pathfinder. Which, because you could see how maybe they're doing like product innovation skipping years.
Yep.
So it depends on how it all plays out. But between the Tracer and Pathfinder, that's probably my next tire purchase unless something crazy happens that we don't know yet. Would stand by those tires. Even though I just ran the Schwab, I like them. They're too expensive for what they are. Good race tire, just too expensive.
Yeah.
So
let's see what else.
I think just on the nutrition front, because I think it'd be hard not to have an episode. I think the nutrition for me personally this has been a great year for nutrition for me.
Yeah, you haven't had any issues. I think you've kind of
I've gotten those demons settled down. I think we both ran 90 grams of carb.
I ran 120 in the start because I knew it was going to be cool.
Yeah, okay, that's fine. But we were both running. The idea was to run 90 grams when the heat of the day kicked in.
Yes.
And then we both ran hydration bottles. So we ran a 2-liter pack with nutrition, and then 2 1-liter bottles with hydration. So electrolytes with some flavoring, but no sugar water. And to me, I think that's a great. And I don't even try to I don't think we have any secrets here. I just think it's a good format. I think it's a good format that ensures that you're getting good hydration from the nutrition pack. And then you always have, and actually I had one bottle that was just straight water.
Yeah, me too.
From Matfield Green to Council Grove, straight water in one bottle so that I could just drink straight water if I wanted it. And we both carried the little 1/2 liter collapsible. So we had 4.5 liters of water. Probably didn't need that for the whole section, but definitely for that middle heat of the day section, that was a great call.
Yeah. So I did notice. So I do a little so there is 1,000 milligrams of salt in every single liter that I drink. Yeah. So in the maltodextrin fructose mix, there's 1,000 milligrams per liter in there, plus 90 grams of sugar.
Yeah.
And then in each hydration bottle, there's 1,000 milligrams of salt. And so I think on this Unbound, since it was so much cooler in the morning, it was probably a little bit more too much on the salt, because I had noticed that my little band for the call to get picked up was starting to feel tight as I was getting towards after Matfield Green, and I was like, but good thing I listened to Danny, and he was like, "Oh, sometimes you just want to have straight water." And I was like,
I've said that to you many times before, and you just like roll your eyes. I mean, like, you always gotta have nutrition or hydration.
Yeah, I'm like, you're wasting space in your stomach, just straight water. But no, I was thankful to have that straight water, because I started drinking that straight water, the swelling went down, everything started processing. Now, it didn't cure the nausea. I don't think. Sure. I think the nausea was a different issue altogether, and I just think it was that I needed to eat actual food. Like I was hungry. I was the same way. Like my body wanted food, not sugar water. Like it was like, hey,
there's a point.
Yeah, if you put something not solid in me, I'm gonna be pissed.
I think one of the things to experiment with is to experiment with mixing in.
After I ate those chips and that payday, I felt amazing. I was just like, that's where I'm going. I'm a new man now.
That's where I'm going. I think the experiment here is somebody that I know and really appreciate his friendship and the things I've learned from him over the years, is a friend that lives in Florida, and I won't mention his name just because I don't know how. I haven't talked to him about it. You want to be mentioned on the podcast? He's a very experienced triathlete, and he's a very accomplished athlete just in general. Podiums nearly every race he races in the area, so he's very, very strong athlete. But I know he wrote something up several years ago that he shared with me, and he talked about how, like an Ironman, he's like, sometimes your body, you need to have a little bit of protein in your system, to not just to help satiate you, but also just like your body just needs something other than the carbs. And I think I want to experiment a little bit with a little bit of light protein and fats at the midpoint of like a super long race like this. Now the shorter stuff, I think 6 hours and under, you can get away with straight sugar water all day long, every day of the week.
I've never had this issue.
But when you start getting to 7, 8, 10 hours, I think your body needs something. So I think somewhere in that like 6 to 7 hour mark, it makes sense to mix in a little bit of light protein and light fats that are easily digestible. So peanuts, paydays, and sugar is very digestible, and I think that was a great call. And the chips, of course, yes, they have the salt, but the fat of the oils of the chips, you're not like you're eating a whole bag, like big bag of chips.
No, it's just like enough. The snack pack thing.
Yeah, so just enough fats in there between the peanuts and that. I think that might have been kind of what helped. So I think I'm going to experiment with that next year.
Yeah, it's just hard because we're not doing 10-hour rides every weekend.
Which is why the training thing
exactly that
might make sense.
Why we get back to where we get back to this is why we kind of want to do these either back-to-back long days, or even just maybe like during peak week. That's when you do maybe a 10+ hour day where you have to be. You just kind of have to be out there in the elements, in the conditions,
put your body through it.
put your body through it so that you can see that the strategies that you've adopted actually work.
Yes. Otherwise, you're using race day as an experiment. What do we always say? Nothing new on race day.
And you don't want to do race day because you don't want to find out, like, I could have solved that way sooner. I could have easily grabbed some fats and some chips on my way out of Council Grove.
You got it.
And then ate them.
Yeah.
So
I think those are the big areas that I would think of in terms of lessons learned: the nutrition side, the equipment side, the training side. I don't know if there's anything else you want to kind of cover. But.
No, I think that's it. I think the other stuff is just, I mean, Unbound is such a big thing. It consumes our lives, but for good reason, because it's hard.
Yeah,
we wouldn't care so much if it.
Yeah.
What if it was easy? Like,
right.
If you were just like, oh, just go out and do it, you'll have a great time, it'll be fine. Like, no, it's hard, and
it is.
And every year is different, and there's new challenges that arise, and I mean that's why we keep coming back to the well of, like, you have to learn from every single race that you do. You have to learn something new.
That's right.
You have to always be questioning whether or not you made the right decisions. Was your strategy the right strategy?
Yeah.
Did you feel the best the whole time, or was there a lull, or, like, did you make a mistake or something like that?
That's right.
Like, you should always be questioning and seeing if you can improve on stuff, and you make these little improvements, and sometimes you forget stuff that you learned in the past, then you make that mistake again. But hopefully you write all that stuff down and keep track of it, and keep learning and keep getting better. And
this is we joke about getting engagement farming and all that. This is seriously one of those episodes that I would love it for people to post, like, some lessons that they learned from this Unbound. Not because, I mean, yes, I want to know personally, but also I think there's not enough conversation about that, especially people that, like, are semi-serious in a way, like, not that we think we're going to win it, but, like, serious in a way, like, hey, you know what, we just want to keep getting better every year. And I would love it if people would post some of the things that they learned from this specific Unbound, not just general tips and tricks, but, like, what did you learn from this event?
Yeah, what did this event teach you? Yeah. Other than, did it teach you that you're stronger than you thought you were? Did it teach you that, like, doing a 24-hour night ride,
Yeah. And what adjustments?
That was the way to work.
And what adjustments can you make looking ahead for, like, what do you know now that you didn't know before the race that you want to tell somebody else?
What did this race teach you that you're going to be like, oh, you should definitely carry a paint stick?
You know what? I'm still convinced the paint stick and the park tool are the two best things. There's all sorts of little gadgets they're coming out with now, but those are the two best things you're ever going to have.
Paint stick is so great because I would scrape the mud off and then I would hit it against my shoe and it would knock the rest of the mud off, and I'd put it back in my pocket. I'm like, that is so easy.
Piece of cake.
I'm like, make something simpler. Really.
Right.
There's nothing simpler than that. So
doesn't get any better than that.
But it was super great. Let us know what you learned or any lessons that you learned through this Unbound training block, even if you did like the 100 or whatever. Like, what did you learn that you're going to carry forward moving into the next season. All right. And thanks everybody for listening. And again, thank you guys so much for all your support and and all the conversations that we have and stuff. Love seeing you guys. Love hearing you guys. Know who we are, and
love it.
That is just insane. I can't tell you how humbled I am that you guys are
absolutely
interested in talking to us goofy goobers. So have a great day, and we'll talk to you later.